Why is it that truly intelligent people often make others uneasy? Think about it. When someone walks into a room and seems to see things differently, when they question the rules everyone else accepts, when they refuse to follow the crowd just because it's the crowd, what happens? People notice, and often they don't like it. History is full of examples. Socrates, executed for corrupting the youth. Galileo, silenced for challenging the church. Artists, writers, scientists, all pushed aside, feared, or ridiculed in their time, only to be celebrated centuries later. But why? Arthur Schopenhauer, one of the most provocative philosophers of the 19th century, believed that society has a deep, instinctive distrust of those who think too much. He argued that the average person depends on illusions, routines, and comforting beliefs. The intelligent person threatens those illusions, and in doing so, unsettles the very foundation on which people build their lives. It's not just about having a high IQ or being clever with words. No, it's about the kind of intelligence that looks beneath the surface, the type that sees through masks, questions traditions, and notices the cracks in the stories society tells itself. That kind of intelligence doesn't always make people smile. It makes them nervous. Schopenhauer's insight is as psychological as it is philosophical. The masses are attached to what is familiar, while the thinker is drawn to what is true. And truth, as he reminds us, is rarely comforting. So when intelligence appears, real, unsettling intelligence, it doesn't just impress, it disturbs. Society is a collective. It survives through shared rules, shared beliefs, shared customs. The group offers safety. It offers belonging. But intelligence, true, independent intelligence, creates distance. The thinker begins to see things that others cannot see. He asks questions others would rather ignore. Why do we work the way we do? Why do we chase money, status, approval? Why do we accept authority without proof? To the thinker, these questions are natural. To society, they are dangerous. Psychology explains why. Human beings are wired for conformity. Experiments like Solomon Asch's famous line test show how people will literally deny the evidence of their own eyes just to fit in with a group. Standing apart is uncomfortable. Questioning the herd feels like a threat to survival. So when an intelligent person comes along, someone who naturally resists conformity, society feels that primal unease. The thinker doesn't play the game. He sees the board for what it is, and that makes him unpredictable. Schopenhauer called this a kind of invisible wall. The intelligent person lives on one side, looking across at the crowd. The crowd, in turn, looks back, suspicious, irritated, sometimes even hostile. They sense the difference, even if they can't explain it. It's not that the crowd understands what the thinker sees. It's that they sense he sees something they do not. And that alone is enough to create fear. Schopenhauer believed that human life is built on illusions. People tell themselves stories. That life has ultimate purpose. That society's rules are always just. That happiness lies in wealth, status, or romance. These illusions aren't necessarily bad. In fact, they help most people survive. They make daily life bearable. Without them, many would collapse under the weight of suffering and uncertainty. But the intelligent person often sees through these stories. He notices how happiness fades as soon as one desire is fulfilled, only to be replaced by another. He sees how much of culture is just habit, tradition, and herd behavior. He recognizes how fragile our beliefs are and how much we cling to them simply because they comfort us. And when he speaks these truths aloud, society reacts. Why? Because exposing illusions feels like pulling the blanket away on a cold night. People feel vulnerable, naked, unprotected. The thinker hasn't just shared an observation, he has disturbed the emotional fabric that keeps others safe. This is why intelligent people are often dismissed as arrogant or cynical or negative. It's easier to attack the messenger than to face the message. From a psychological perspective, this is called cognitive dissonance, the stress we feel when reality challenges our cherished beliefs. Instead of changing our worldview, we reject the person who forced us to confront it. So, the intelligent person becomes a mirror that society doesn't want to look into. Here lies the core tension. Society thrives on conformity. Conformity means predictability. Predictability means stability. Stability means survival. But intelligence is disruptive. It notices too much. It questions what others accept. It breaks patterns, challenges dogmas, and resists easy answers. That's why intelligent people so often find themselves outsiders. They disturb the comfort of the crowd, not by choice, but by nature. Schopenhauer wrote that most people live within the surface of things. They chase desires, avoid pain, and seek pleasure. But the intelligent few peer deeper. They notice the suffering that underlies existence. They realize how fragile our social structures are. And once you see these truths, you cannot unsee them. This creates a paradox. Society needs intelligent people for progress, for innovation, for truth. But it also fears them because their presence threatens the very illusions that hold society together. This is why intelligent people are often ignored, mocked, or even feared in their lifetime, only to be honored later when their truths no longer feel so dangerous. And this is why Schopenhauer believed intelligence was both a gift and a burden. Imagine sitting at a table where everyone is laughing at a joke, but you don't find it funny, not because you lack humor, but because you see something else in it. You notice the cruelty, the hidden meaning, the insecurity behind the laughter. This is what it feels like, often, to be intelligent in a world that values sameness. Schopenhauer argued that the more a person understands, the less they belong. Intelligence expands vision. It makes you notice patterns others miss. It makes you ask why when everyone else just shrugs and accepts. But that vision comes with a cost. The crowd moves together, united by shared assumptions. The intelligent person steps aside, examining the dance from a distance. And that distance grows. It becomes a barrier. Psychologists call this pluralistic ignorance, when everyone in a group acts as though they agree with the majority, even if privately they don't. The intelligent person sees through it. He realizes that most people are just following along. But by pointing it out, he risks becoming isolated. It's a strange paradox. The more clearly you see, the harder it becomes to belong. Schopenhauer described this as a kind of existential solitude. Not loneliness in the simple sense of lacking company, but a deeper solitude. The sense that your mind lives in a place most cannot follow. And society senses this difference. And difference in human groups is always suspicious.
If intelligence creates distance, the question is, distance from what? Schopenhauer's answer is stark: from illusion. He believed that most of human life is driven by what he called the will to live, an endless striving, a hunger that never rests. Because this striving is painful, people build illusions to soften the blow. Religion offers meaning. Tradition offers security. Culture offers distraction. Hope offers escape. From a psychological lens, this makes sense. The brain craves certainty. Uncertainty creates stress. To function, Most people need a narrative. Life is fair. Hard work pays off. Good things happen to good people. But what happens when someone intelligent questions these stories? Schopenhauer thought this is precisely why society fears them. By pulling away the veil, the thinker doesn't just share knowledge, he dismantles the very structure that helps people cope. It's like taking away a child's blanket. Without it, they shiver, they cry, they resist. This explains why many thinkers throughout history faced resistance. They weren't just presenting new ideas, they were threatening old securities. Society, then, needs illusions as much as it needs oxygen. And the intelligent person who dares to puncture them becomes an uninvited guest, tolerated at best, feared at worst. Truth is rarely neutral. Truth cuts. When Galileo pointed his telescope at the heavens and showed that the Earth was not the center of the universe, he didn't just share an observation, he shattered the worldview that held Europe together. When Nietzsche declared, "God is dead," he wasn't mocking faith, he was warning of the cultural earthquake that follows when illusions collapse. This is the danger of truth-tellers. They disturb the balance. Schopenhauer saw this clearly. He believed that most people cling to a fabric of comforting ideas. Tear that fabric, and you expose them to raw reality. That reality is harsh, endless striving, endless desire, endless suffering. And here's the psychological twist. Most people know this deep down. They know life is fragile. They know death is unavoidable. They know happiness slips through their fingers. But they prefer not to think about it. So when the intelligent person points it out, society reacts with anger. Anger at being forced to see what it wanted to ignore. Anger at being awakened from the dream. That's why so many truth-tellers, prophets, philosophers, scientists are first rejected, silenced, or ridiculed. They aren't just challenging facts, they're shaking the foundations of comfort. And society, above all, fears discomfort. All of this leads to a heavy consequence: loneliness. The intelligent person, seeing through illusions, questioning conformity, and speaking truth others don't want to hear, often finds himself alone. Schopenhauer himself lived this reality. Despite his brilliance, he spent much of his life in obscurity, dismissed by academics, overshadowed by rivals. Only late in life was he recognized as one of the great minds of philosophy. But loneliness here isn't just biographical. It's structural. The intelligent person is often cast as different. Society labels him weird, negative, too deep, or unrelatable. These labels serve a function. They push the thinker to the margins, keeping the crowd safe from disturbance. Psychology calls this social exclusion, when a group subtly or overtly rejects someone who threatens group harmony. Even mild nonconformity can trigger it. And for the thinker, nonconformity isn't occasional, it's constant. So the intelligent person faces a dilemma: stay silent and conform, at the cost of authenticity, or speak truth and risk exile. Schopenhauer believed most intelligent people choose the second path. They retreat into solitude, not because they hate humanity, but because humanity rejects them first. And in that solitude, they create, they write, they compose, they imagine. Society may not welcome them, but it later builds monuments in their name. Fear is not always logical. In fact, much of society's fear of intelligence is instinctive. Human groups throughout history have survived by maintaining order. Shared rules, shared myths, shared customs, these keep the tribe together. Anyone who threatens that unity, whether through strange behavior, dangerous ideas, or unorthodox beliefs, is seen as a risk. The intelligent person is exactly that risk. Schopenhauer argued that intelligence, by its nature, resists control. You cannot easily persuade or silence a mind that sees too deeply. The thinker asks questions no authority wants to answer. He examines truths no leader wants exposed. This is why society often feels uneasy around intelligence. It cannot predict it. It cannot control it. From a psychological perspective, this is linked to the uncertainty principle of human relationships. People trust those they can predict. Predictability equals safety. But intelligence disrupts predictability. The thinker might agree today and disagree tomorrow. He cannot be bribed by simple rewards or manipulated by simple fears. And so, to the crowd, he feels dangerous, not because he carries a weapon, not because he holds power, but because his mind refuses to be owned. This is why thinkers are sometimes exiled, censored, or even executed. The fear isn't just of their words. The fear is of their independence. When fear alone isn't enough, society turns to other weapons. Two of the most common are envy and ridicule. Schopenhauer observed that intelligent people often provoke envy simply by existing. They don't need wealth or fame. Their difference alone is enough. The crowd feels small in comparison, so it reacts with hostility. Envy is a painful emotion. Psychologists define it as the discomfort we feel when someone else possesses something we wish we had. For most, intelligence is admired at a distance, but resented up close. The thinker reminds others of their own limitations, and that sting creates hostility. Ridicule then becomes the perfect tool. Mocking the intelligent person turns him from a threat to a joke. It strips him of seriousness. By laughing at him, society protects itself from the discomfort he causes. History is full of such stories. Socrates was called a corrupter. Darwin was mocked for suggesting humans share ancestry with apes. Van Gogh was dismissed as insane. Ridicule was the shield. Envy was the fuel. Schopenhauer himself experienced this. During his lifetime, he was overshadowed by Hegel, mocked by academic circles, and ignored by institutions. Only later did the world realize his brilliance. This is the pattern. When society cannot silence intelligence, it seeks to diminish it.